Coming up on TechZilla, we has Google TV hands-on. S.M.A.R.T says your drive is dying. Should you panic? HDR ain't just for photography anymore. We're talking HDR video with Soviet Montage. And we got a box full of your viewer questions. So heat up some chowder and grab the sourdough bread, because TechZilla starts now. This episode of TechZilla is made possible by GoToAssist Express. Support smarter with GoToAssist Express. The new Ford Fiesta, it's a pretty big deal. Carbonite Online Backup. Start your free trial at Carbonite.com with the offer code TechZilla and get 2 bonus months if you decide to buy. I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Welcome to TechZilla, hands-on reviews of the latest tech and how to make the most out of the gear you've already got.
Whether you're a beginner or tech support for your friends and family, if you've got a question about tech or why Easy A with Emma Stone is a must-see, we've got an answer for you.
And if we don't, we'll track down someone who does, like Roger Ebert. Or have you seen Easy A?
I haven't. I really want to.
You really want to?
I love her. I think she's so adorable.
Oh, she's adorable.
And Roger says it's an awesome movie. It's ridiculous. He watched it already.
Sorry, I thought he said something completely different, and I was kind of shocked. Our friends over at iFixit, not to change the subject, have been busy. Last week they did a teardown of the new Mac Air. This week, Logitech's Google TV device, the Revue, gets gutted. We're going to be hands-on with the Revue later in the show, and if FedEx ever delivers it, my wife's new MacBook Air, too. It's really funny, like the Apple TV, when you get the FedEx tracking, it's basically like, town in China, town in China, town in China, town in China, and then all of a sudden Alaska, and then it sort of, so it was supposed to be here today, but then this morning they were like, it's going to be here on the 27th, so, you know.
I had to come in late today because I was waiting for a new printer at my house.
How old school.
Yeah, well, we
if
had a printer.
If anyone was paperless, I would have thought it would have been you.
You realize how much you need a printer, like
yes.
if you don't have one.
Oh, yes.
It's shocking.
It's irritating.
It's
you know what
super
else is
irritating.
Really needing a fax machine.
You know what's really irritating? Locked PDFs that you can't edit. And then you have to get software that's like $50 to edit them, and then it's still locked, and you still can't edit it. You know I hate that. Oh, then you have to print it and scan it. Anyway, Bluetooth is so dead. All right, well, Bluetooth probably isn't totally dead, but Engadget's post that the Wi-Fi Alliance has begun certification for Wi-Fi Direct did catch our eye. Essentially, Wi-Fi certified Wi-Fi Direct devices are designed for device-to-device connections, no router needed. Or, as Engadget so eloquently put it, think Bluetooth, but using Wi-Fi, which is super awesome, by the way.
I like that thought.
What's really interesting is that, at least according to the Alliance press release, Wi-Fi Direct devices can connect to older Wi-Fi devices. So your phone could talk directly to your printer or your HD TV without needing a central router. Sadly, though, the initial round of certified devices are almost all PCI Express mini cards. I was hoping for Wi-Fi Direct headsets. Imagine Bluetooth audio minus the suck. That would be so nice.
Yeah, I'm actually waiting for the Wi-Fi Direct convection oven so I can do like remote baking for the win.
Well, my new printer is ePrint. So I can print directly from my iPad when they get that rolling out. Because, you know, I'm often at my iPad thinking, I desperately want to print this. Well, okay. Actually, you know what? Use case, if you're like, you have to print out if you're traveling, or no, I guess that wouldn't be a good use case. If you're at home and you're on your iPad for some reason, your laptop or desktop isn't working, and you need to print out a travel thing. What are they called? Boarding pass. Boarding pass. Boarding pass. There's a use. Send it right to the printer. Actually, my son has this drawing application he absolutely loves on the iPad. He can actually print. There you go. Which could be really expensive if he just starts printing things over and over again, because he would totally be like, click, and then hear the printer run over to the printer. That could be a problem. That could be an expensive problem. Yes. Oh boy. Adobe, by the way, not dead either. They announced Air 2.5 today, and they're talking publishing across TVs, phones, handheld pads, and yes, computer screens, along with an apps market called InMarket. Or as so many folks have pointed out, Adobe just loves Android because Google doesn't hate Flash like Steve does. Air 2.5 supports multi-touch gestures, GPS cameras, microphones, and quite a bit more. I think it's really interesting. It's basically, Adobe's like, whatever. Talk to the hand, Steve, because we're going to be on everything but your little iOS devices. Yeah, Android is really blowing up too, so they might have to laugh at the end of the day. We shall see. Yeah, and you know,
Yeah, I'm still irked that they made the little blue, you can't see the flash thing here disappear from all iOS devices.
I know, because then you don't even know what you're missing. At least I knew before. I'm like, oh, there's a thing here I would like to see. I should go on my laptop and watch it. Yeah,
apparently the Steve found that the irritating.
At least the HTML5 stuff, though, has fixed a lot of the problems on the iPad, at least.
Well,
it's nice to be able to watch YouTube videos on the device.
Speaking of which, you should be able to see Techzilla.com and the revisions, all the Revision3.com shows on your iPad. If you're not, just wait a little longer. Hit the video, wait a little longer. It seems to be loading a little slower than we thought. So our awesome team of coders are working feverishly night and day to improve your user experience. Speaking of user experience, it's kind of a weird, like an open source moment here. Ubuntu is changing its desktop. GNOME is out, and Unity, Ubuntu's netbook interface is going to be on all forms of Ubuntu. So GNOME, actually GNOME isn't really out because Unity is kind of an adapted version of GNOME, which I like saying. It is shiny, I like Unity. According to Mark Shuttleworth, the founder of Ubuntu and Canonical, the company behind it, users want Unity as their primary desktop across all platforms. Just don't expect it to show up before the next Ubuntu release because they've got a bit of engineering to do for it, because basically the netbook one is kind of like single process oriented.
Yeah.
Because you can really only do one thing at a time on a netbook.
Yeah, and Computer World also added that Dell has sold several million Ubuntu laptops, desktops, and netbooks, and that Canonical has deals with Lenovo and Acer too. And don't say we never talk about Linux on the show.
There
you
just
go.
Did. Ah!
But if you're a Windows developer or just a super fan, you might want to check out Ray Ozzie's new blog, specifically his Dawn of a New Day entry. Ozzie, who's in his last days as a chief software architect at Microsoft, takes an interesting, if long-winded, look at Windows, the PC, and where Microsoft fits in the future of computing, since the Windows-based PC will get outnumbered by connected devices in a serious way soon. To oversimplify, with a quote from Microsoft watcher par excellence, Mary Jo Foley, Ozzie has concerns about Windows.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because he's done this sort of, the internet is disrupting everything, was this huge that's not the exact right three-word quote, but basically like 5 years ago he says the internet is changing everything, and they've done all of this stuff in the last 5 years. So if you see it out there, there's a lot of internet. Read Ozzie's article and take a look at what's going on. The short answer is like everything's moving to the internet and everybody's computing on all sorts of little handheld devices. I mean, I don't know, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Well, Windows 7 Phone, I think, will be a step in the right direction for handheld devices for Windows.
For Microsoft's sake, I would hope so.
Yes.
Yes. I want to thank everybody that tweeted back when I asked about doing an Unraid or a FreeNAS build this week. I was swamped with responses. Responses that opened up so many other ideas, like doing a specific FreeNAS with ZFS build, talking about the Amahi server, OpenFiler, various Unraid configurations. I think we're probably going to do more than one DIY server build. We'll have the first one next week, I promise. I just got to do some hands-on building before then so I can answer some of the questions you guys had, which were really awesome.
Yeah.
Yes.
And speaking of questions, Jacob writes in, recently my computer has been telling me that the hard drive has started to fail via S.M.A.R.T. And, well, I haven't noticed any problems yet, so I'm wondering if it might just be a false positive or if I should look into purchasing a new hard drive. I'd rather not pump too much money into this machine since it's a Toshiba satellite from 2004. If my hard drive does end up failing, would running Windows 7 from a 16GB USB stick be a viable alternative? Thanks, love the show, and please keep up the good work, Jacob. Interesting. Yeah. I've heard of people booting Windows 7 from thumb drives before, and I think we've done it ourselves in the past. It's a kind of a pain to install since you have to get all the command line to format and partition the thumb drive, then use bootSec to set the USB as a bootable NTFS drive.
Yeah, unless somebody's figured out an easier way to do it, but it's a very manual process.
It's not super difficult, but it is kind of a pain. And then you have to manually copy the installation DVD to the thumb drive. But if your notebook can boot from USB, you should be able to do it. I'd expect it to be very slow moving data over from USB 2.0.
You'd never want to reboot. Like once it started, you'd never want to reboot.
Patrick's beloved Puppy Linux would work a lot better since it packs a whole operating system into the main system memory when it boots. Windows 7 would be hammering data back and forth over that USB stick, which would be very slow.
And very cramped by the time you got Windows 7 installed on it, maybe an application.
Well, Windows 7 takes up like 7 gigabytes, I think.
There's half your drive.
7 or 8, yeah.
And then you'd have a partition file, and then
yeah.
As far as S.M.A.R.T, the self-monitoring analysis reporting technology basically analyzes your hard drive, looks for bad sectors, tries to predict when it's going to fail. It's probably not time to buy a new hard drive. It is a very good time, however, to image your drive or back up your critical data to another drive or to an online service. Google is pretty fascinating. They use consumer-grade hard drives for their bazillion servers. They analyze S.M.A.R.T data for something like 100,000 drives. For certain narrow categories of information, like first-time fail, there's like, you know, if it reports like I want to say a first-time sector fail, then the drive is 39 times more likely to fail in the next 60 days. Like for certain narrow categories of information, S.M.A.R.T is really good at predicting failure. Overall, I've heard like it's 30 to 40% or 40 to 60% accurate. Generally speaking, seriously, if this isn't a critical, I need it for work or school or to get on Facebook and survive, just back up the drive, back up your critical data, wait for the drive to fail, and then replace it with something else. Or just buy a cheap 2.5-inch external drive, take your image off your Toshiba, move it onto the 2.5-inch external drive with the Chronos True Image. It's a nice free version. Then swap the drive from the external hard drive into your laptop, and when you decide to replace that laptop, the notebook, wipe it and pop it back into the enclosure, and you have a nice external device for backing up.
Not bad.
So that's, yeah.
That's a lot of process, but.
Well, yeah. I mean, basically, like, back up your critical data just in case S.M.A.R.T is actually right. Wait as long as possible to buy the hard drive, unless you're just going to go ahead and upgrade the hard drive now. Well,
you should have been backing up anyway. So maybe you don't have that much work to do if you've been listening to us. Well, coming up next, we get hands-on with the Google TV. But first, a word from our sponsors. If you work with clients and colleagues to resolve computer issues, I have an incredible remote support tool that will make you look like a hero while saving you time and money and boosting productivity. Go to Assist Express, brought to you by Citrix, lets you easily resolve computer issues in real time or after hours while your customers are away from their computers, allowing you to be more productive. In fact, on average, Go to Assist Express users report a 40% increase in productivity. That's like getting 2 extra workdays back a week. Texilla viewers can try Go to Assist Express free for 30 days. For the special offer, visit gotoassist.com/Texilla. That's gotoassist.com/Texilla for a free trial.
Welcome to this week's Freebie Download Pick, a free program that we find useful, fun, or incredibly interesting. This week, App Cleaner. There's one thing Windows users have that OS X users want or should want. It's an application uninstaller. Yeah, you can hunt down each and every application preference, library entry, and receipt, but I suspect you have better things to do. Why not download App Cleaner? It's simple, it's free, and it's powerful. It lets you uninstall applications, widgets, components, and plugins. Just drag and drop an app you want to get rid of onto the interface. Make sure the files and preferences you want disappeared are checked, and click delete. It's that simple. If you want more hand-holding, you can select from applications, widgets, and others at the top, and you'll be given a complete list of items installed in your machine. So if you're frustrated by the clutter of too many app installs and you want to ensure that everything associated with an app you want gone gets deleted, you should download and use App Cleaner today. It's free, people.
All right, it's time for a little Google TV. We've got Logitech's Revue in the house. So how does this $300 box deliver on its promise to combine internet TV and traditional TV? And can it really make finding your favorite shows easier? So where's the Google TV?
I'll be right back. Welcome to the secret testing lab of one Mr. Robert Heron, my co-host on HD Nation. He's going to be talking to us about, we just told you, Google TV in the form of Logitech Revue. 30 seconds or less,
yeah.
What is this box?
This is basically an interface that connects to your TV and it bridges that gap between the content that might be on your set-top box, namely a DVR or your cable or satellite box, as well as the content in your home. And it kind of brings it all together with one interface that allows you to search through that content and explore and find other content that may either be online or local on your network.
No, I see Blip TV, I see YouTube, and it's kind of funny, right? Because this is the first device. I mean, the reason this is a $300 device, not a $100 device like a Roku box or an Apple TV, is the fact that it's working with traditional cable TV or satellite set-top boxes.
That as well, and it includes a nice accessory as well as basically an RF keyboard, meaning that it's not infrared. You could have this under the covers if you wanted to be able to use it. And that integration you mentioned as well. I believe Harmony and Logitech took some of the knowledge they had gained through their Harmony remote technologies and said during the setup, it's like, hey, if you know the model numbers of all your devices, we can make it so that we can control all of these things fairly easily with one interface and one control setup.
So basically, plug the HDMI out from your cable box into this, plug the output from this into your television, go through the screen setup, you're done.
That was it exactly.
How is the video quality?
Video quality will depend on your source material overall. One of the problems I ran into was that basically the video I'm getting from my sources, like my cable box, are in component video format, and the Revue is transforming that into something called RGB, which is more of a computer-based format. Now, that could cause certain problems with some TVs, especially if the TV sees that RGB signal and goes, oh, that's a computer source, that's not a video source. That could affect levels, it could affect basically the detail of the picture itself. I haven't run into that too much, but I would prefer some control over that, and most people won't even know that's happening unless you're able to monitor the output that's coming out of the Revue itself.
Because I've noticed some of the reviews I've seen online so far, like it's downgrading some of the HD video and it's stripping out Dolby surround sound?
The biggest complaint I have right now is that when I ran Dolby sources, particularly over the air or from my cable provider, like a sporting event that's done in Dolby Digital 5.1, it was basically stripping that down to stereo by the time it leaves the Revue unit. Now I'm hoping you'll be able to have more control over that with a firmware update, but we're still waiting to hear back from Logitech in terms of what they plan to do about that.
I mean, it seems almost like this is one of the rare Google products that, you know what I mean, like Gmail was in beta for what, like 19 years or something like that when they finally yanked the beta off of Gmail. Do you feel like the Google TV should have a beta logo on it at this point?
Parts of it, definitely. In particular, just some of the things we encountered just with basic search. There's a search button on here that acts as everything from your browser to searching what you want to find in terms of your multimedia content. Like last night happened to be Monday, we're looking at American football. Monday Night Football is a pretty well-known event. You type that into the search term,
I think so.
Didn't really find it. However, we go to what's on now in terms of one of the items you have on the Revue unit for Google TV. It's right at the top of the list. So some of that's kind of missing, and that made it a little definitely on the beta side of things. Also with format support for audio and video files. The list isn't complete, and it even says so on the menu system itself for video files that yes, current format support is under beta. So when I'm pulling content off of my local server devices, I'm really not sure what formats it supports, nor when it is playing something does it give me any information about what file it actually grabbed, because in this case I was testing audio files and it had different encoded formats. It played one of them, but I couldn't figure out which.
Could be the Apple loss list, could be the 256K MP3, but I don't know which.
And I could do some detective work and limit what it had access to figure that out, but I would rather not have to deal with those kind of hoops.
So I know there's supposedly the rumor is that there's conversations with ABC and some of the other television networks who may not want their stuff on the Google TV yet. No signs of Hulu Plus yet on it. I noticed like HBO Go on here, and it's a funny mixture of like, you know, things you wouldn't really think about. Like the New York Times, great brand, but New York Times Video right next to HBO.
Totally, and this is their Spotlight. So this is their initial menu, what they call their Spotlight for the home system, where these are the content providers that they partnered with initially. One odd thing I felt when you pointed out HBO Go is during setup of the Revue unit, it does ask you, do you actually, when it's doing the cable TV setup or satellite setup, it says, oh, do you subscribe to HBO?
So it's like HBO Go Online, where if
premium contents. But if you say no to that, it would still leave HBO Go on there, which requires a subscription of some kind anyway. So,
which is kind of sad, because like you look at this thing, like for $10 a month, can I have HBO? And it's like, no, you need cable, haha. What's the pros? What's your favorite thing about Google TV, the Logitech Revue so far?
I gotta say the ease of setup, and so far, at least with my current hardware, I don't have the need for the infrared blaster where I need a separate light source essentially for the control commands going from the Revue to my other gear. It's doing it apparently with just using its own integrated infrared blasters that are on the unit itself, which means they probably are pretty bright. So that ease of setup I think is really appealing, and it being able to control all of my devices effectively is something I'm really pleased with.
So how about the video and the audio? Obviously the audio is kind of a con.
If it's going to strip my surround sound down to stereo in every case, and I can't find a control for that, that's definitely a con. If you're an audiophile, you might be disappointed with that, at least until they fix it.
Right. So we're hoping for firmware. Is this kind of a, you sound a little on the fencey about this.
It definitely feels like a 1.0 product, and I'm really waiting for when Google launches an update for their TV platform, and for the Revue itself, it'll be nice to see that basically this is going to be like an Android platform, and when they have the Android store and when you can choose more applications to download, I'll think it will definitely be a more compelling product at that point.
So a tentative thumbs up, wait for a Christmas sale.
I really want to see the first software update to address some of the minor bugs I've uncovered. Well, the stereo one, going from 5.1 to stereo, is a little more than minor, but also just some of the usability as well. And if they can add some more applications to choose from for services like Voodoo and other things that we might want to see added to this. Right now, there's really no way to add or remove apps other than what's integrated on here currently.
So that could be the Android store. It could be something you wait for Google to work out a deal on.
The potential is here for this product. It's just I want to see some more out of it before I tell anyone to run out there and buy it. However, if you're the kind of person who just, you know, I need Netflix streaming and I need to access some YouTube videos and things like that, if that kind of basic service is what you're looking for, you can get that out of a much less expensive set-top box like a lot of the Blu-ray players nowadays.
So Google TV, platform to be built on, hold off until the firmware updates in the Android store show up, but a very intriguing product, says Mr. Heron.
Totally. It's nice having a browser on the TV.
Coming up next, we're going to be talking HDR video with the folks from Soviet Montage. Right now, though, we want to thank one of our sponsors, ladies and gentlemen, Ford and the new Fiesta and its sync technology. Well, the Ford folks were kind enough to leave a Fiesta with us all summer, and between us and the rest of the Revision 3 team, we've packed an embarrassing number of miles on it. Matter of fact, we did like 103 miles on our 21.5 mile journey to Robert Heron's place. We ran a few errands. By the way, one of the cool things about the Fiesta is the Send to Sync feature. It's a new addition to Sync that lets you take directions in Google Maps while you're at home and send them to your car. So when you get in the car knows where you want to go and how to get there. It's very nice. The Fiesta packs technology that will put much more expensive cars to shame. It comes loaded, people, and it is fun to drive. If you haven't checked it out, thinking about buying a new car, check out the new Fiesta. And thanks again to Ford for the loaner. We have had much fun with the road tripping this summer.
Looks like it's time for another website we just can't get enough of. A website that we just can't stay away from because it's too useful, too funny, or just too darn irresistible. This week's pick, Letterfoo. Remember how awesome it used to be to get an actual letter from an actual human being in the mail? These days, all I ever seem to get are bills, credit card applications, and frequent flyer mile updates. So, what if there were an easy way to send letters without even needing an envelope? There is, and it's called Letterfoo. The site is totally free, and the only thing you'll need to pay for is a stamp. Letterfoo won't send letters for you, but it will show you how to print out really cute and functional templates that you can fold up and send out. It's kind of like letter origami. First, you pick out and print which template you want to use, or print out the blank one and get creative on your own. Write out your letter on the blank side of the document, but make sure you don't use a pen that's going to bleed through to the other side too much. Next, flip over your paper, fill out the addresses of the sendee and return address, and then fold along the lines, finally securing your makeshift envelope with a stamp. If you want to make sure it's extra safe, just use a dab of a glue stick. That's it, your letter is ready to be sent out. I wouldn't recommend this method for sending out your rent checks or anything, but it's a really cute and easy way to send someone a note, old school style. Get started today at letterfoo.com.
HDR, high dynamic range, you usually think digital photography, stills, right? You take multiple exposures at different levels, you bring them together, and you get a wider range of exposure it's normally possible. So there's details in the darks, there's details in the brights, and it makes a massively intriguing image. My next guest had managed to bring that same idea to the world of video. Joining me now, Michael Safai and Alaric Cole from Soviet Montage. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Good to be here. Thanks very much.
I understand you guys are getting some crap for the name Soviet Montage.
Yeah, a little bit.
So, what inspired you guys to go, like, what, were you guys sitting around going like, you know what, I want to see HDR in video? Is that literally where this started?
Essentially, it was over a year ago, something like that. I mean, HDR photography has been around for quite a while, but I'd not seen it in video. I kept looking for examples and I didn't see any, so figured out I had to try it myself.
So this sounds like it started as a garage operation.
Pretty much, if we only had a garage.
Yeah, we had a second bedroom, actually.
Second bedroom works. In fact, it's probably a lot warmer in the winter and a lot colder in the summer than the garage. So I know there's stuff you guys can't talk about. I suspect there are patents pending somewhere around here, or at least you guys want to keep the idea as closed as possible before people start kicking in the door. What can you talk about? What hardware and software are you guys using for this?
Well, we'll start with the software. The software is something proprietary that we've developed that allows us to do this kind of compositization of the two video feeds. It's not the fastest thing in the world. Rendering time's pretty long. We're looking at, on a very modest machine, we're still using the homemade machine, we're looking at about an hour for 1 minute of rendering time. Takes some time. But it's an intense process, and it gives us kind of a one-of-a-kind look, which has been good for us. After that, we do a few more things. Sometimes we end up with some flickering actually in the image because of our process, and we're using Adobe After Effects to deflicker using a plugin called color stabilization. It comes with the After Effects program. We're also doing some color grading, magic bullet looks, colorista, that kind of thing. So what you saw on the reel, I mean, I imagine some of your viewers have seen the reel already.
Yeah.
That was just after the HDR process. We didn't go into deflickering, we didn't go into color grading. It's just the beginning.
So how do you make HDR work in video?
Well, there are two components. There's a physical capture process, and then there's a software processing. In the first part, we're using two Canon 5D Mark IIs. They're set to different exposure values. Now, we're not using different shutter rates. They're actually set to the same shutter rates and apertures. We're using neutral density filters to cut out the light, kind of like sunglasses would for your eyes.
Sure.
So we put a neutral density on one camera, and we leave the other camera naked. Light enters our device. Light gets split in two directions. Each camera captures exactly the same image, but one, of course, is darker. Now, we select our criteria. Like, if you look at the Dignation footage, if you guys have seen that, you notice, well, if we can see Alex and Kevin's face, we can't see the sky, it's blown out. Vice versa, if we see the sky, they're completely dark. So we set one camera to capture the sky, one to capture their faces, put them together, and you get a much greater dynamic range than you could ever have with one camera, and you also get a lot more flexibility with your processing after the fact, because you have a whole range of things you can do.
Does it work better for sort of outside scenes where things get blown out by sunshine, or indoor scenes where you have sort of dark details in the corners? Or?
Well, you've seen it work outside, and it works really well there. Another clip that I think you guys will have for this show involves shooting indoors. And what we've done is it's a situation where there's a window, here's the subject, and back here's a kitchen.
Right.
The kitchen is much darker because the only light's coming from the window.
Sure.
So if I were to just shoot it with one camera, my subject would be exposed, but it looked like she was against a black background nearly. Right. What we did is set one camera for the kitchen, one camera for her, combined it. It looks like the kitchen is perfectly lit, like a professional movie. But we're not using any lighting gear.
I can almost hear like people that are doing, you know, if they still make video, like the classic place to sort of pioneer, you know, new effects would either be, you know, music videos or commercials. Have you guys, I mean, that would seem like the classic, like whatever the video effect is, first it shows up in commercials, then it shows up in movies, and then it shows up in like $99 software. Do you guys see at some point like, you know, an actual camera that has the sort of lens and beam splitter or multiple sensors built into it, or do you see this being more like more super prosumer high end?
I think it's ideal for a consumer application eventually, right? Because of what Mike's talking about, where you may not have to use artificial lighting, which is just huge for a lot of consumers just wanting better quality video out of the box. I think it'll happen pretty soon. It'll happen first in, like you're saying, a commercial or a music video, and that's something we're kind of talking about.
Yeah, we've been contacted by both commercial makers and a lot of music video makers.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's wonderful.
So how do you know? Where do you guys go next with this? Are you just kind of working more on the software, or working more on the hardware, or sort of advancing on all fronts?
I think the last thing is what we're doing.
Yeah, we really wanted to make sure that we could take it out of this whole garage thing and make it suitable for when we're going off and shooting other things like Dignation and what we're talking about. So we wanted to make sure that we're solid, and I think we're doing all right with that.
We want to shoot. We still want to produce stuff. At the same time, we're making the rig better. We're making our post-processing better, and we're trying to make it cheaper and more accessible.
Cheaper and more accessible is always good. Could you even, I mean, because right now you basically probably have thousands of hours tied up in the code, plus you have the probably a pretty, but I don't think beam splitters are cheap yet, right?
Not a good quality one, but it's not.
Well, could somebody, I mean, do you definitely have to have exactly the same image, or could you put two lenses right next to each other, or is even like a ½ inch too much parallax?
That's even too much, actually. Wow. Yeah.
I mean, you see ghosting in the motion of the individual moving around. It's hard with motion. It's easier with still images.
Yeah, well, still images, you got a tripod, you take multiple exposures. Michael and Eric, really cool stuff. Where should people go to find out more information?
You can check SovietMontage.com. That's our blog. We'll be talking there, and just follow us on Twitter and Facebook.
I think we can make that happen. SovietMontage.com, people, keep an eye out for it. As I suspect that's going to be the first place, unless their Twitter feed is, where you'll find the next video they've shot. And be sure to check out the latest episode of Dignation for more footage shot by Soviet Montage. Revision3.com/Dignation. Coming up next, more viewer questions, but first, we've got a word from one of our sponsors.
Eventually, you're going to have a computer disaster. Your computer crashes or is damaged, theft, fire, etc. But if you have Carbonite Online Backup, your files will be backed up automatically and safely off-site, so it'll be easy to get them back. You can access your backed up files remotely from any computer or from your iPhone or BlackBerry with a free Carbonite app. Carbonite costs just $55 a year for unlimited backup for your PC or Mac. But when you use the offer code TEXZILLA to start your free 15-day trial, you'll get 2 months free if you choose to buy. All the details are at Carbonite.com, and remember to use the offer code TEXZILLA to get 2 months free with purchase. Vic emailed recently asking us, I started using Google Voice and ditched my landline. My question, is there any way to receive calls without having Gmail open on the desktop? Vic in Vancouver, Washington. All right, well, first up, I'm going to assume that you have a cell phone. In that case, you can easily route your calls from Google Voice to your cell phone from the Phones page. That's at google.com/voice-phones. If you have an Android phone running 1.6 or higher, there's an app available from Google that will let you make calls, look at transcriptions, text, and voicemails, and a lot more, nice. Which is, of course, you know, from Google, so it works.
Now Google can know everything about your life.
Everything.
Everything.
Yeah, what's worse, Google knowing everything about your life or Apple having control of all your data?
Yes.
Both. What a world we live in. You can also route your Google Voice to your Skype number, though you'll need to have a paid Skype plan in place for that to work. There's a few other things with Gizmo that let you do like 5-minute calls to Skype, but 5-minute call, I mean, that's kind of, it's a little bit janky.
Yeah.
What we'd all love to see is a desktop client, and it looks like that's been rumored for a while now. There is an Adobe Air client that I downloaded and tried. I wasn't able to make a call using it.
So you weren't severely injured in the process.
I did give them my password and like log in with my Gmail account, so now I'm kind of all like,
is this a scam?
Is that a bad idea?
Have you changed your password?
No,
Time to
I just did it today.
If you're feeling paranoid, change your Gmail password.
I know. Oh, I hate that. See what I do for you people? See what I do? I put my whole life at liberty.
You could create a second Gmail account that you use just for testing.
I know. I was thinking that after I did it. I was like, you know what would have been a really good idea?
Creating
another Gmail
test
account.
VeronicaTest@gmail.com, which
That's
is probably
probably registered by the time you just said that. You probably didn't even get that out of your mouth before that.
I could be Veronica.
Because we are in the past and the future at the same time, so we can do this and you won't even know it's happening. So yeah, what we really need is an official client. So hopefully that'll come pretty soon.
Okay, first of all, Veronica Test already claimed.
Locked down!
No. Somebody got to it before.
No way!
Would I lie about that?
Oh my God.
Yeah, there's someone out there pretending to be your test account. By the way,
you guys are fast. You're like really fast. Like, how did you even do that? Because the show hasn't come out yet.
We should email them and see if they'll give it to you. Anyhow, what we really need is an official client for the iPhone, so hopefully that will come soon.
Hopefully, yeah, that would be nice.
With multitasking, you could like have multiple applications open and be receiving. Sorry, I get excited about multitasking.
It's just an app. I mean, they'd all be multitasking, wouldn't they?
Yeah, well, the PC. Steve is afraid of the Android, which means he's afraid of the Google, which means this application could take forever.
Oh, you're talking about for the phone. I'm still talking about for the desktop. I want an official desktop client.
I thought you wanted. I was thinking about the phone.
Well, we're in different places. It's okay.
Our next question comes from Greg.
Yes, Greg says, my 7-year-old has outgrown the Fisher-Price digital camera, which is great for preschool kids, and he'd like a nicer digital camera for the holidays. Most of the reviews focus, on features, image quality, and megapixels. But what really matters for a kid's camera are things like simple point and shoot, not 20 different modes, fairly rugged, and not too expensive, since there's a good chance it will get dropped or lost. Been looking at the entry-level Kodak cameras, but do you have any other suggestions? Greg in Bellevue. What, do you have a camera for Seamus? Or is he's still a little too young, eh?
Well, actually, we've been playing around. He started out with my Kodak. He's 3, just turned 3.
Just turned 3, right.
And he's really fascinated with my little Kodak video camera, the 1080p one. So we'll give it to him, we'll tell him like follow the cat. And he would follow the cat throughout the house and shoot the cat video. And I've been practicing with my wife's camera for basically teaching him how to frame shots, and he'll take like 25 pictures, and he'll either be focused and actually take some pretty cool pictures, he'll be unfocused, and it'll be like 15 shots of the floor because he likes the sound of the shutter going off. I would suggest, you know, something big for the little tiny hands with the biggest buttons you can find, and something cheap so that when they drop it, you don't feel pain.
Yeah, I was thinking that the Kodak Easy Shares are probably a good place to start. There's like the C142, which you can find online for under $70, so that's not too much of an investment. Right. I was actually thinking, he's 7, he's not like 4 or 3. I was thinking something a little smaller that would fit into his hands.
That's true.
I know that a lot of the kids' cameras are on the bigger side. But as long as it's simple and easy to use and there's not a lot of knobs and whistles on it,
I was using
might not be so
35mm cameras when I was 7, like fully manual ones, so I wouldn't be too afraid of handing a kid a full-size camera at that point.
Okay, so I guess it's more like use case, like however they feel comfortable.
Do you trust your kid with an expensive object?
Yeah, so then for a step up from that, if you want to go a little bit higher in quality, the Kodak EasyShare M380, which will go up another $100 or so, more than the C142. So that's, maybe a couple more birthdays down the line. For under $120, check out the Nikon Coolpix S220 and the Olympus Stylus 550 WP, which is also waterproof.
That's a big plus.
So in case they drop it in puddles or things like that. It's a little bit older, but you can find it online, new and refurbished, for under $100. I think, the $50 to $100 range, maybe I just have high expectations for 7-year-olds, but I figure if your dad's a geek and if he's going to be walking around with them, teaching them how to do shots here and there. The Fisher-Price ones are nice, and there are like the Barbie cameras and a few from SVP that I actually saw that were kind of interesting.
But decent digital cameras are getting so cheap, or you can use this as an excuse to upgrade your personal digital camera and hand yours down to the small creature, which we would be doing, except for a terrible incident when my child was younger and sort of ripped part of the lens cover off of the camera. Wrist straps, by the way, I would also highly recommend, and show them how to sort of adjust the wrist strap so it holds on.
And a cute little carrying case. You can get all adorable.
It goes in their backpack.
Yeah. I just like to think, I want to see these videos that Seamus is taking.
I will see if we can get a Seamus video in.
A tour. Last show we answered a question about syncing audiobooks for Android phones, and we asked you for your picks and solutions. Here's what some of you sent us. From Brooks, we got, the problem with the default Android media player is that it doesn't discriminate between audiobooks and music. Yes, we know. So I recommend using 2 separate media players. For music, mixing is fantastic in every way except the name, and you can specify specific folders in which you keep only music. Put audiobooks in some other folder and play them with the aptly named Audiobook Player 2. It has automatic bookmarking, a sleep timer, and a few other bells and whistles. This solution has worked pretty well for me. Brooks. Next, we have Jason, who writes in, I love M.A.R.T Player. It does not have a sync, but it does have bookmarking and a number of other features which are important. Sadly, it can't play DRM media. It also has a widget that allows you to control the app without loading it. And the M.A.R.T Music Player. I use and love all 3. Jason. Marcus writes, in one of your last issues, you had audiobook apps for Android as a topic. As a visually impaired user, I'm addicted to audiobooks and have tried several apps to get the most out of my Droid, instead of also carrying my iPod Touch with me. I have tested some of the more popular apps and can recommend 2 of them. The Audio Player 2 does a good job, although it is a free piece of software. It supports auto stop and resume on headphones plugged out or into the device, and has global resuming and bookmarking option. My real recommendation would be the Ambling Audiobook Player. The light version already has a bunch of cool features, but the personal and pro editions are full of useful extended capabilities and very great apps in my opinion, although they are not what I would call a steal. Maybe this could help someone out there. Greets, Marcus. So thanks to everyone who wrote in. Those are some great suggestions.
There are some great suggestions. I got an account for you.
You did?
I'm not going to say it, though.
Except Mel steals it.
No, because then it'll be filled with spam.
Ah, good point. Hey, need to know what's hot and what's not in the world of geek? Join Uber geek Tom Merritt as he counts down the top 5 things that matter to you.
Ooh.
It may be the top 5 gadgets or cell phones, or the top 5 geek movies, or top 5 worst sci-fi shows. You'll have to tune in and find out every Tuesday at revision3.com/Tom's Top 5.
For everybody out there watching, we live on your questions. We will die without them. Okay, we won't die. We'll just suffer. Just please email. Look, email us. Save Veronica. Email Texzilla@revision3.com. We need your emails. Don't be shy. Send them to Texzilla@revision3.com. Even better, send us a video question. Think of all the fun you can have, the admiration of all your friends and family when they see your mug on our show. Just keep it to 15 seconds, upload it to YouTube, and send us the link in an email with video question in the subject line. Some of you must have emailed because Veronica, like Tinkerbell, has been revived.
I feel so much better.
If you believe in Veronica, email.
Yes, and as always, you can find us on Twitter at twitter.com/Texzilla. Thank you guys so much for watching.
I'm Patrick Norton.
I'm Veronica Belmont.
Till next time, you've been watching Texzilla.
I've realized that the smart thing to do is to immediately take an antacid after you finish eating, before it even starts bothering you. Or a Gas X. You're recording this, aren't you? Well, I can bring some in, you can try it. Maybe you'll have the Depends On. I don't have Depends On! That is a comment that could be taken out of context.